Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, future selves watching this recording. It is in real time, it's April 28th, 2021. We are on sessions 15 and 16. We'll also do 17 and 18 today about digital engagement principles with me, Leanne Reagan. I'm really happy to be here with you all. I have a question for folks, and you can answer this in the chat, or you can answer this, you can unmute yourself. How many items do you see in the screen there on the slide? How many items do you see? So Maz is saying 4. Anyone else? Nerl is saying 5. Anyone else? 4 says Mims. Angeline says 12 surfaces. He, he, he. Okay. Great. Sal, oh, you asked, but oh, Sal's seen it, so I'm not going to answer. Okay. Okay, great. So we'll come back to that at the end of this particular section. But in the meantime, I just wanted to cast your eyes back. We've actually covered a lot of ground, and I know different people have been here for different sessions. So just a really quick recap. So far, we've talked about overall engagement. Today, actually, we're at the point where we're going to shift into specific digital engagement. So the first piece has been all about, with our mission being social change, looking at what is engagement, engagement principles, and the social outcomes chain. So feel free to look back on sessions 1, 2, and 3 if you want to look at some of the methodology around engagement overall as it leads to social change. Then we did a couple sessions on linking engagement and social change to your audience. Does anyone on the call, were you in the change personality workshop? Do you remember what animal you were? A duck, an armadillo, a dolphin, or a turtle, etc.? We talked about that and the importance of matching or of considering rather all different kinds of change personalities as we're putting together our initiatives. Welcome, Vishalni. It's so nice to have you here. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Leanne.
We're just doing a quick review before we get before we dive in. Did you want to say anything, Vish?
Nope, not at all. Thank you.
Okay, okay. So we talked about change personality. Anyone in the group remember if you were in that workshop, what your animal was for your change personality? You can let me know in the comments if so. And then we talked about, oh, Angeline was an armadillo, Amira was a dolphin. Oh, great. So Maz was an armadillo. So the really key thing there is we tend to design events and engagement pieces based on our preferences. So if you're an armadillo, you probably are unconsciously designing from an armadillo perspective. And the same thing with the dolphin. So to really include all of those different perspectives there. And the same thing with motivation. We'd gone over 6 different kinds of motivations. Does anyone remember some of those types of motivation? You can be motivated by, I'm not sure if anyone was in that session, just let us know in the chat. So for example, one way to motivate people is, some people are motivated by the future. Others are motivated socially. So there's a little quiz there that you can take to find out your preferences. And then really with your online engagement, really try to include those different kinds of motivational types. Then we talked about engagement by design. We did the SAKE tool. Again, that's trying to incorporate all 4 of those components to make sure that we're being really accessible and inclusive. And we talked about the different circles of engagement. That's your content expertise, the design, the delivery, and the tech. We talked about, oh, nuts. Does anyone remember what the nut piece was, what the nut is called? Let us know in the chat if you were in that session. And then we did an hour on the life lenses and looking at things, for example, from the top of the mountain, as well as from the perspective of the carrot, detail, detail, detail. And then we talked about including being able to see, hear, and do things. And then yesterday we finished up with power and privilege issues, both power and privilege issues from your audience as well as your own power and privilege. And then we did anyone on the call yesterday, let us know what ELC stands for and the FUGLA. We did the numbers exercise, and then we practiced really making that experiential and making that learning sink in, that engagement sink in. And then we talked about the 3-for-1. So you have your engagement event, but there's always opportunities to engage pre and post. So any questions about any of those sessions? Let me know how that's landing. Any questions at all in the chat, or feel free to unmute. Yeah, Neural, the ELC was the experiential learning cycle. Exactly. Anyone remember what FUGLA was? MAS, facilitated group learning activities. Awesome. That's not cheating. You looked at your notes. That you could find your notes, Maz, is actually, that's super great, right? Because it's one thing to try to learn something, but then to have your notes in a way that you can easily find them, perfecto. Neural, oh, good, Neural. Okay. So any questions about any of those? Okay. All of those resources are in your portal. That's that one-stop link. It has links to all the PowerPoints. The videos are all up to date now. I haven't timestamped the videos yet, but I will go back. Anyone know what timestamping a video is? Or has anyone timestamped a video? Has anyone done that yourself?
Never done that.
Okay. It's so easy. I teach that in an upcoming workshop when we get to some of the tools. It's so easy. Anybody know what timestamping is? Matt says what feels like a long time ago. Yeah, I know time is, we're all in some kind of time machine. For me, I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, I do feel like time is speeding up or sometimes it's slowing down. It doesn't usually ever feel regular. Does anybody know what if I say I'm going to timestamp the video, what does that mean? Mark certain parts of the video. Yeah, Neural. So basically, if you've ever gone onto YouTube and in the description, you'll see some time, like 2:36, that's 2 minutes, 36 seconds. If you click on that, it will jump the video to that exact point. So I have it on my list to do for you to timestamp those videos. Because sometimes when you look at a 2-hour video and you're looking for a specific thing, people can be not so engaged because it's hard to find what they're looking for. So I'll go back and timestamp all of these individual workshops. Okay, so today then, we're going to talk about digital engagement success and digital engagement principles. So we're kind of going into the next chapter, really digging into digital engagement specifically. And then we're going to talk about your tech personality and the ladder of engagement. Pardon me, but yesterday somebody asked about a definite, like types of digital engagement. And I was trying to remember this morning who that was. Is that person on the call today? Pardon me for not remembering who asked that question. It was such a great question. At any rate, this piece here, the ladder of engagement, in the second half of our time together, I think that will really help with that question. Okay, so that's our roadmap for today. I want to turn it over to you though. I asked you yesterday, Asraf says, okay, Asraf, are you on the call today? Just let us know. I'm trying to look here quickly. Don't think so, not yet. Okay. So I asked you to click on the portal to look at each session has different pre and post engagement exercises, and I asked you to do one pre and one post. So feel free to unmute or put in the chat, what were you able to try? And let me just stop the share here, and I'm going to share the actual screen of the portal. Just give me a second here. Oops. Sorry, folks, hang on. Okay, so you should be able to see the screen. This is your detailed portal. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can see your the detailed training outline. Just give me and I can, by the way, what are these marks here? Great, so Maz, great, thanks for letting me know. Anyone know what these icons are up here that I'm circling with my mouse?
Whoever's logged in to that.
Yeah, exactly. So I can see there are 4 people who are looking at this. And actually, let me just share the link here in case you don't have it handy. Or actually, so by the way, why am I not copying the URL from the browser? Why am I not copying it up here? Why did I go in and grab the link from here? Anybody know? Would have been quicker for me to grab this link to share it with you. Why did I not do that? Oh, and someone else just clicked on. The answer is in the end of the link that I shared. Any guesses? Why did I not copy this link and share it in the chat? Why did I go into share? Okay. So the reason why I did that is because if I copied this link, that is the link to be able to edit this. And the permissions that I've set for this is that folks can view it. So you wouldn't have been able to get in if I'd shared that first link, because the permission is set to edit, and I haven't given you that permission. Okay, so I can tell we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we've got 7 people looking at the document right now. So I know that you have a lot on your plate, so maybe you didn't have a chance, but just let me know, did anybody get a chance to click on one pre-engagement or getting started and one follow-up or post-engagement? You're all very quiet today. Would it be right? Oh, okay. So Maz, you did a pre. Okay, great. Oh, and Amira tried bingo. Okay, fantastic. Maz, if you're comfortable sharing, which one did you try? And Amira, let us know about the bingo. So if you're looking for bingo, you can just do a search, or bingo is right here. You can click on that.
I tried the feedback, like the pre. It's just a Google Doc thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Was that the questions one? Asking you what questions you had about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, so that one is right up here. So key questions. So this is, none of these are very difficult. This goes to a Google Sheet, I think it is, or maybe, no, I think, yeah, Google Sheet. And I asked people, what questions do you have? And then I made it editable so people can fill that in. Amira, any thoughts on the bingo? Couldn't finish. Okay, so the bingo is, did anyone else try the bingo? And can anyone tell us what tool I used to make that? So this one's using a Google Doc. The key questions, I think, is a Google Sheet. What is the bingo on? You can find that here. So it's simply an editable PDF. It's really, really simple. So I just had my team make a, a bingo sheet. Does anyone, I can pull that up for folks here. And it's all sitting in my Google Drive. So everything is linked, and they just made it. Oh, Anjali, I couldn't tell what it's made from. Yeah, it's just a PDF. It's an editable PDF, which is taking a long time to load here. So those are often really great, especially when you're doing online events, because if people want to and they have access to a printer, they can download it. And others who like to do things online, they can just fill it in online. I'm sorry, it's taking so long. Oh, there it comes. Slowly, slowly, slowly. My computer's complaining because I have Zoom on, I have my video on, I have lots of tabs up here. Neural talked about a personality survey. Okay, here we go. So yeah, so this is all I did is had the team make a PDF. So it's all formatted. And then these little boxes, when you download the PDF, you can check those off and you can play bingo. Okay, so, and then the other one, Neural talked about a personality survey. That might have, was that the tech personality? Potentially? The animals. Okay, yeah. So that would be the tech personality, the change personality. Both of those are based on animals. So that is in, I think it's in SurveyMonkey. Did I do that one in SurveyMonkey or Google Forms? I can't remember. Amira, I love bingo. We'll let you know once I finish it. Great, great. Yeah, so these are all like, this is not neuroscience. This is not brain surgery. It's really, these are very, very simple things. Oh, did anyone try the blob tree? That uses a different kind of tool. And we'll go over these tools later on in the training when we go to specific tools. Did anybody try the blob tree? Or the bullseye? Those use the same tool. So we tried it too. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and can you tell us what tool that was? This one doesn't get used very much. I think it's really underutilized. The blob tree or the bullseye. Anybody know what tools those are? They're not a Google Doc. They're not a Google Sheet. They're a Google Draw. They're a Google Draw. Maz is saying, tried the blob during the first week of training. Yeah, so that's a Google Draw tool. It's another tool in the suite of Google. Basically, just like it sounds, you can kind of do, you know, pictures and things in there. So I don't see those used very much at all. And I think they're great. So take a look. Just play around. Again, all of those links are there, so really easy to use, and they're always accessible for you there. Okay, any other comments or questions about the tools there before we move on?
I tried one of the games.
Oh, which one did you try? Oops.
The one where you, is it escape or something, where you go into a room and you're in a house?
Oh,
like, yeah.
yes, yes. That is, was that mine? Why is this not
No, I think it's by some dude, Anthony something or other.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. You scared me a little bit there. So these are called, if we're on the same page, these are called virtual escape rooms. Has anyone done an escape room before? Have you tried that in real life or online?
Real life.
Okay. And sorry, is that Fish?
Yeah, I tried it actually with our mutual friend Jana in Finland once.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. I've actually never done one in real life, but the concept in real life is that you get locked into a room and you have to solve clues to escape, to be able to get out of the room, and you have a time limit and you're with a group of people. And but there's also digital escape rooms now, so they're online and you have to solve clues to be able to progress. So I wasn't watching who said they had tried who said they tried the one online. Who was that? Oh, Maz, it's cool, didn't finish, but damn interesting. Yeah. So the reason why I was scared is because I've made one. I've made a digital one, but it was for a client. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have shared that with you. Did I share that with you? So I'm glad it wasn't mine. And really, really simple to make. Essentially, I'm just taking you from one Google Doc to another. And if you don't answer the question properly, you have to go backwards. So it feels like you're in a room, but they're just linked Google Docs. So the hardest part is because you end up with, I think I had 35 Google Docs. And you just have to make sure that the right ones are linked to the right ones. And you can add music and pictures. And this is actually a new tool that I've been doing. So are you interested in that? Should I add that to the tool list? Let me know in the chat. Yep. Okay. Okay. So I will add that to the tools. It's so easy to make. I'm just making a note here because if it doesn't get written down, it doesn't happen. Okay. Great, Amira. Okay. Yeah. So easy. They're so easy to make. Okay. So thank you for trying those pre and post engagements. I appreciate that you took the time to do that. That tool is always there for you. So as you're checking things out, you're playing around, also try to think about what would work for you and your organization and the things that you're trying to achieve with your digital engagement. So if you click on a survey, you think, how can I use this for our use? How could I use this tool, etc. Okay, so carrying on, I wanted to dive now into some digital engagement principles and some digital engagement stories. And part of the reason why we need to do this is because this whole ecosystem of being online has really caused, as you know, as you well know, some really problematic behavior. So fake news spreads faster on Twitter than real news. Okay, so fake news spreads faster on Twitter than real news, but by how much? So is it twice as fast? Is it like, so put in the chat, how fast, how much faster? Yeah, how much faster does fake news spread on Twitter than real news? What do you think? Ali, a billion. Oh, Ali, I don't think I said hello when you joined. Angeline, 3 times. Hi, Ali, so glad you're here. Welcome. Mem says depends on the retweets. Okay. Any other guesses? Amaz, lots to the power of lots. I like that. That's great. Okay. Anyone else? Any guesses? I think it's depressing. The research from Social Dilemma says 6 times. So 600%, 6 times faster. So, which is all the more reason why it's so important for us to be active online, to be engaging, to get our content and our values and our mission out there. Maz is saying only. Yeah. Okay. So part of the piece around powerful digital engagement is knowing, having some markers to look to. So if you think of combining the mountain life lens, if you were in that workshop, and the heart life lens. So the mountain is the big picture, the vision, the mission, the values, and the heart lens is really heart-centered, working from, pulling people in, values-based, etc. So I'm going to divide you up into groups in a few minutes to get you to look at some powerful engagement examples and get you to edit those examples to pull out what made those examples powerful. And I like this quote from Mark Masters around building community, that building a community is different from building an audience. The latter is those who agree to receive info from you. The former are those who have shared beliefs. So I like that notion of trying, how do you build a community as opposed to just an audience, right? And today we'll go on to some tools around how to do that. But first of all, let's kind of dive into some of those principles. So working in small groups, I'm going to share a link with you. Actually, I'll do that right now so you can just get ready here. Okay, so in this link here, which I'll put this link on my screen in just a second. That link has a bunch of different digital engagement examples from Mari Partners. And I'd love for you, working in your small group, to read one of those examples. And by the way, once you've claimed an example, please highlight it. Doesn't matter in what color, I'll take the highlight off later, but highlight it so that the other groups know that someone's already working on that example. Okay, so number one, you're going to go into small groups. Number two, quickly pick an example on that sheet. And then in your small group, number three, edit it directly and write down what made that example powerful. Okay, any questions? I'll just show you what that, so this is the sheet here, what you're going to, okay, so you should get a link to this, and then just scroll down. These are some work that other folks have done in previous. So here is, for example, group one. Hang on here. So these are the examples here. So if you wanted to do group one, there's some examples there. Just make sure again that you highlight them so that we know that that's taken. Okay, and then put down here what made that powerful. Okay, questions before I divide you up? Any questions before I put you into small groups?
So we pick one example and then talk about what was powerful about it, right? Okay.
Yes, yeah, and highlight it, Vishalini, so we know that that's been taken, and then actually write. You have editing power on this document, so write in the document what made it powerful. Okay, so I'll divide you up, and it's just a short amount of time. I'll give you like 7 minutes or so. Okay.
Leanne, how many groups again? Sorry.
So you'll be in groups of 2 or 3. Okay. So I'm going to create them right now. The invitation will pop up on your screen. You click on it, and you'll be automatically put into a group. Okay, and then I'll give you a couple of announcements of how much time you have, and you have about 7 minutes roughly. Okay, here we go.
Hi, Leanne. Is it? Oh, okay, 2 minutes more. I thought it's exceeded the time. Okay, just that.
Okay, welcome back. One of the downsides to Zoom is I can't get into your rooms to ask you if you've had enough time. So if you need more time, just keep working away. Otherwise, please make sure that, so if you're looking at my screen now, by the way, just give me a thumbs up in the chat. Can you see my screen okay? You can hear me okay? Okay, thanks, Maz. So this piece here is a collection of all of the principles that people think made those things successful. So please feel free, if you haven't already done so, to add your comments to this master list up top. So just let me know. You can unmute or put in the comments. Have you already added your okay, so I would love, so where I am, top of page 3 here, if you haven't already done so, to copy your principles and put them here, just starting right here. And then once you do that, feel free to take a look at the principles listed on page 1 and 2 here. So these are all of the collated ideas, and just let me know what you see, any comments.
Everyone is picking up Swaram, right?
Nice. Oh, I like the pink. By the way, everyone, when you come on, you get an anonymous thing. So who's ever typing now is anonymous duck.
Maybe I just go and highlight on what Swaram had done
Yeah,
before.
yeah, absolutely. And let me know, are you typing right now?
Me? No, I'm not. I'm not.
Okay. Did you put down your comments on here somewhere?
Actually not, because as I was about to do it, someone else already highlighting on it. I don't
Oh,
think.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's
Mars.
that.
That's
So we just do a mental note on that, so it's fine, I guess.
Okay. So you can always go somewhere else in the document, like a little further down, to put your principles. But sorry, that's Amira. Yeah, Amira, go ahead and tell us what made your example powerful.
Actually, what Swaram campaign had done before, it's way before I work here. Actually, it was end of last year, I guess. So basically, what they did is what make it successful, as what I discussed with my group, because we got series of posting, and also we come out with a point of view from a victim family. Yeah, so we basically use in a very personalized and yeah, that's it. Use empathy, use emotion, people feelings on the campaign itself. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm trying to type that in. I'm just gonna stop my video and see if that helps, because it's oh, there we go. Okay, so personalized, and you said empathy.
Mhm.
Yeah, very, very powerful, right? Very powerful
Mhm.
examples. Yeah, so it's potentially the unique, like you're hearing a unique point of view, something that is really strongly tied to emotion. It's personalized. You're bringing about empathy. And tell me more. You said there was a series. What about the series made it powerful? Why did you say that?
Series of posting on social media. It's
Mhm.
not just infographics or no about the law, about the police abuse itself,
Okay.
but they also include videos. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Great. 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 Good job, Amira. Okay. Any other group? There's two
So
other groups.
perhaps we could add on, since we're also picking up Saram.
Mhm.
Mars, want to share?
Sorry to interrupt, Sal. Did you already write this down somewhere, or do you want me to scribe for you?
Yeah, you can write it, since I'm actually looking at your screen.
Okay. Okay. Just let me know.
Mars, yeah. So Mars, you want to share anything, Mars?
Go ahead, Salfong.
Okay, so for your information, I'm also new in CIJ as well as in this CSO world. To me, it's a very new world, totally different world from what I'm coming from. I just read through the information provided in the list, and I think, to me, I would think I actually echo what Amira mentioned, the series of posting, because when we talk about giving education to grassroots people, it's very hard for people like me who don't like politics, who never follow all these news, the updates or whatnot. It's very hard for us to understand what is actually happening and what is our rights, and what should we do. So a series of posting, given different perspectives, given different information, and a consistent update is very, very important to us, because we know that this is not just one-off thing, like you post something, you want to fight for something, but then next day we don't hear anything from you already. So we do not know what's the agenda behind, and then we wouldn't know what is really going on. So a series of posting could let us know that one thing is your inspiration, that you keep fighting on no matter how challenging the situation is. That is one of the inspirations. Second thing is that you keep providing us different updates. That is also a powerful way to give us the confidence to support the cause or to support the action. And then because in the notes they only mention mostly FB and press releases. So I think, yeah, I think back in, that was when 2016, it should be the most powerful platform than compared to Twitter. I think Twitter in Malaysia, I'm not so sure, it's still not as famous as Facebook, right? So I think they pick on the correct platform. That is also one of the successful key. And then another thing is they actually have a very clear aim, like when they put up the campaign. I think because one of the points stated there is that they wanted the authority to release the people arrested. So the objective, the aim of the campaign is must be clear. I think it is actually clear so that they can actually achieve what they actually wanted the authority to do. And then another thing, I think the audience, they actually know exactly who they actually want to reach out to. And then to turn the power to turn the power that can really give a pressure to the authority. I think that one is also very important because if we run different campaign and we do not know who we actually try to reach out to, that could defeat the whole purpose to me.
Xiaofeng, I'm scribing here, but don't let me put words in your mouth. You can edit this later if I'm not getting it quite right. Yeah. Okay, great, well done. So the goal behind this is that you can come back to this document at any time. This needs some, some editing here, but there's a whole bunch of examples here of what made that work powerful. So when you're trying to do your own work, you're initiating a new campaign, a new event, etc. You can come back here and kind of use this as a bit of a checklist.
Yeah.
Thank you, Xiaofeng, and your group. Did you have anything else to add, Xiaofeng? Are you finished?
One more thing to add. Probably, I'm not sure whether it actually applied to Soran back then, but I think to know who is our target audience is very important, because then we know what are the language we need to use to reach out to them. Because if say we talk to a minister, we use a simple language, they probably won't bother us. Or if we talk to a grassroots people using all those legal terms and whatnot, people might not understand as well. So that is one of the key elements.
Great point.
Okay, that's all from me. Mas, if you want to add on anything.
No.
Okay, thanks you two. Great job. And our third group. Who wants to speak for the third group?
I guess I'll do the speaking because I think Angeline doesn't have a mic. So
okay.
we did project dialogue, and then we talked about it. So project dialogue basically said that they did a film festival, and then they targeted specifically for non-English, rather Malay-speaking communities in Selangor. And we thought that was super fun and cool. I mean, first and foremost, a film as a medium is quite unusual. So that in itself, increases in power. And because it's film, we think film is a pretty powerful medium in itself, because it helps move people with, emotionally, with sights and sounds and stories. And because the other thing that we thought was really neat and powerful was because it uses a whole different language. So you reach out to, people who you don't typically reach out to. And like, say, if for project dialogue, maybe if our stuff is usually research based and a film is a lot more, accessible, and that makes it also a lot more engaging, I think. So yeah, that's for Project Dialogue. We also did for the center, but we didn't have that much time to talk about it that much. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Great job. Great job. And this point about stories, there's really, and we're going to talk about this in one of the upcoming trainings. It's absolutely, utterly fascinating what happens in your brain when a story is being told. And I'll talk about that upcoming, but it actually bypasses cynicism and distrust. There's some fascinating things happening in your brain when you're listening to a story. So really smart to pick up on that. Did you want to add anything now to, I know you said that you ran out of time, but did you want to add anything to the center right now?
Yeah, we can. I can. I mean, like the thing that we touched briefly is like it's also the same. In concept, it's the same, right? It's increasing accessibility while also widening your what's the word, your target audience, or having a difference. We didn't really get to touch on the hybrid event that much, unfortunately. We only really actively talked about the Instagram bit, and it's visually appealing. I think people are just we're visual animals in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah, again, I'll talk. There's a mini training on stories and videos and images, and our brains react much easier to images than they do to text. And in fact, I have my browser. I have a ton of folders that make my information, my IP, my intellectual property, really fast and easy to find. And there was a glitch the other day, and all of the icons disappeared. They're all the same icon until I click on them again, and then the icon comes back. And it shouldn't be surprising to me because I know this technically, but it's surprising how just that couple extra seconds it takes me to find something. So absolutely, having something visually appealing is incredibly important. And also just to acknowledge, Vish made a point in the comments, really good point on target audience and the link to building communities of support for these issues. I'll just put that in here too. Okay, Ali, was there anything else you wanted to add? Oh, that's weird. I was trying to copy your comment, Vish.
Not really. I think that's all for now. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
I guess I can share just. Can I share just like a quick thing? I thought
Of
since you
course.
talk about story, right? I actually read this one article on wavelengths and stories. So basically, so they have these two. They presented two stories, exact same stories, except one is translated in Russian and the other was in English. So participants can of course, most of them are English participants, right? So they understand English, but they don't understand the Russian one. But their brains responded, even though they don't understand Russian, their brains responded similarly to the emotional beats in the story. So it's interesting to see that, like maybe there's a thing that we all, respond to stories, even if we don't necessarily understand them.
So I just want to make sure I've got this right. Ali, you're saying that people were listening to a story in a language that they didn't understand, i.e. Russian, and their brains replied or responded as though they understood what was going on.
Yeah. As if they understood it in English, as in like,
Wow.
Yeah, exactly, more or less.
Do you happen to have the link to that research?
I read it so long ago. If I find it, maybe I'll share it with you.
Okay. If you happen to find it, that's fascinating. Okay. I think we got everyone there, but let me know. Does anyone want to add anything else?
I have one question to you, Lian.
Yeah, Stefan. Yes.
Like we share different stuff, like using emotional stuff, stories. But how digital engagement helps in situations like this. I mean, of course, digital engagement to me from a very surface level is a platform where we can actually put out the messages. But again, like even like forum issue, it could be just one way of disseminating messages. We wouldn't know the engagement of the people we try to reach out to. So what's your advices in this?
So I just want to make sure that I understand your question properly. So part of your question is part of your question focused on how do you measure engagement? And then actually how do you practically engage people online and digitally?
How should we view digital engagement in a broader perspective? And also how should we evaluate that, which is true? Because to me, engagement should be like two-way communication interaction. You say now we are talking, you know what my feedback, whether I can understand, what's my feeling, what's in my brain. But in forum cases, what they actually post up is just one way. They update what's happening, what's in progress, but they probably won't be able to get feedback from the grassroots people. What's their thought? Are they supportive right now? Are they confident to stand up or whatnot? So how you view this kind of digital engagement?
So I think, so our next, the second portion of today's work together includes something called the ladder of engagement. So I think that will help you kind of look at the different kinds of engagement, because you're absolutely right. There's not, I'm gonna try to put my camera back on and make sure you see this. There's absolutely not one way to engage. And you know, engagement can be very simple. You know, measuring impression, like if you tweet something out and you measure the number of people that see that tweet, you measure the retweets, etc. Right up, so that's a very kind of simple, right? It's like you're right, it's like a one way. Right up to, you know, this is digital engagement, what we're doing right here, right? We have a document, people have access to it, they can edit it. You know, I could have made this view only, and you'll see, for example, the online portal of all your resources, you can't edit that, right? That's view only. Whereas this piece of work, I really want you to you know, for people to engage with it. So that's kind of a really simple example of different ways to engage with people. And what's important is that you find what works for CIJ, right? Like what kind of engagement are you looking for? If you do, and to think about engagement in three parts that we talked about yesterday, that pre-engagement, the actual engagement, and then the post-engagement. So for example, in doing surveys, one of the reasons why I like surveys so much is that I can then share that information. And on some tools, so SurveyMonkey has this capacity. I'm not sure, maybe someone online knows if you can do this. I think you can do it with Google Forms. You can click a setting that allows people, once they've entered their information, to see the results. So, and then you can make a whole bunch of other learning products or engagement products based on those results. Does that, I mean, I know we haven't got to the digital, the ladder of engagement yet, but are we on the same path, Safong? Does that start to answer some of your questions?
I think that's one of the way that we can try collect some of the feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots and lots of different ways, and the task, the engagement should always be driven by your overarching goal, right? So the tools that you use should be in service of what your goals are versus the other way around, right? So we don't want to pick a tool because it's cool and fun and sexy and interesting, but it actually doesn't serve you, right? So the highest point there is figuring out, what does digital engagement mean for CIJ? And I think the ladder of engagement will help you with that. It's a very simple, elegant, easy tool. Is it okay if we switch gears and start to dive into those two things? Saofong, does that
Yeah.
feel like a good point to transition? Okay, so folks, feel free to, please, please, please come back to this document. You can edit it. I've started highlighting a few of the keywords here. Just make this really easy for yourself to come back to. You can kind of use it as a checklist, right? Because these are real examples that happened in Malaysia that were deemed successful, and then you and your predecessors, and the first time we ran this training, have teased out what made them successful. Okay, so let's switch gears here now, unless there's any other questions here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is switch over to talk about your tech personality. Because remember, now we're taking a deeper dive into actual digital engagement. The previous pieces have been on engagement period, right? Like understanding some of the neuroscience behind that, so you know what you're aiming for. And then we'll end off today with this ladder of engagement. But before we do that, I wanted to come back to this example here. I asked you, I know a couple people came in a little bit later. So the initial question was, how many items do you see on this page? Now that you've had a little bit of time to potentially think about this, any changes or additions to your answer? So if I ask you again, how many items do you see here? What would your answer be? So feel free to answer that question in the chat. So I think before we had a lot of 4s, and we had, let's scroll up in the chat. 4 was the most common answer. Yeah, 4, 5, 4. We had a 12. Okay, anyone else? How many items do you see? And Mira's like, I'm not going to answer it. So that's a really lovely, elegant answer. And I think what's great about that is people are thinking like, why am I asking this question again? Vicious saying 6. Okay. So what's so great about digital engagement is that if it's done well, it allows so many perspectives and points of view, and the table is very large, right? If you can invite so many different voices and perspectives around that table to work on solving critical social issues. And in that, you open up, when it's done well, you open up a lot of different viewpoints and perspectives for yourself. So when I did this, part of the skill of really good digital engagement is trying to uncover assumptions. So I'm guessing that people are looking at these 4 things here, right? That's what when people answer 4. However, you could correctly, there's lots of different ways to look at this correctly. You could actually count the number of lines. You could count my fingers. You could count my fingernails. You could count all of the letters here. You could count the lines. You could count the images, the copyright, all of that. So I'm hoping that, bit by bit, slowly but surely, we're uncovering different ways to look at digital engagement and having some fun along the way. Any comments on that? Any reactions to that? Amira saying very inclusive. Yeah, like I think that's what, digital engagement can be done very poorly, and to really, if you think of some of the stereotypical social media, my life is perfect and look at me and I'm great and I don't have a care in the world and I have fancy nails and expensive clothes, and it's very shallow and superficial. However, we're looking to harness it for social good. And that means being really inclusive, being very deliberate, very strategic. It also means being really creative and innovative. So I originally thought, so you're the first folks to see this in this training. This wasn't included in the first training. This is actually a slide that I included in a global climate changers, global climate change makers leadership workshop. I did the leadership piece, not the climate change. That's not my expertise. And I hid an Easter egg. So going back to yesterday, do we have any gamers online in case we have new folks today who weren't here yesterday? What's an Easter egg when it comes from gaming? Any ideas? What's an Easter egg? So if you're doing online gaming and they talk about an Easter egg, what does that mean? Ali's saying a surprise that's not supposed to be in the game. Yeah, so it's something hidden, right? And our brains respond very positively to curiosity. If we can raise people's curiosity, our brains love that. So I've hidden an Easter egg in here. If you, Angeline, I only know Easter egg because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, so I'm not a gamer, so I don't know about that. But what I do know about is hiding Easter eggs in digital engagement. So I don't know how big this slide is on your screen, but try to take another look. I'm trying to not tell you what the Easter egg is, but try to take another look at the sheet of paper that I'm holding. Take a very close look and see if you could. Yes, Ali's got it. Ali's got it. So there is a number 14. Can you see this right here? It's quite large, but it's very, very, Amira, whoa. Yeah. Now, what the heck is 14? This might be a big stretch for you, but if subliminal messaging. Oh, I love working with you guys. This might be too hard of a stretch, but imagine, so I did this for a global climate change makers leadership workshop. Can you, and again, this might be too hard, but can you think of why I would put the number 14 there? It's not a random number. And again, I'm guessing this is just too far out of your lane to figure this out. So this would be very simple. 14 times, oh, I forgot some math going in here. So it's an SDG, right? It's one of the UN SDG goals. And the funny thing is I actually made a mistake. I thought I asked my team to put the number 4 because 4 is the UN SDG goal of training and education. But I made a mistake and asked for 14. Does anyone happen to know the number 14 SDG? Probably not. There would be no reason why you, yeah. It's related to the oceans. So this is an example of post engagement. Okay, so Xiaofeng, this is a very specific example of some inclusive, fun, digital engagement. So after, I didn't mention anything about the 14. Nobody saw the 14 in the live synchronous workshop. But after, when I sent them the follow-up resources, I said, there is something hidden in the slide. And if you can find, there's an SDG hidden in the slide. If you can find it and let me know, the first one to let me know what number the SDG is and what SDG that relates to wins a prize. So I had all these people, am I first? Am I first? Did I get back? So super, super simple, right? Super simple example of hiding an Easter egg and combining that with a post engagement. And I'm impressed you could see the 14 because it's quite, I went back and forth with my team quite a bit, like, oh, it has to be a little less visible. Okay, now it's too invisible. It's hard for anyone to see. Okay, so before we turn the page on our next topic, any comments, questions? How are you doing? How are you feeling? I'm just going to switch the PowerPoint slide here. Pardon me. Okay, just give me a second here. Oh, actually, hang on. So I'm just resizing my screen here to get it right for you. Okay, let's try this again. Okay. Okay, so feel free as we switch chapters here. We're into the second part of our time together. We're going to go over tech personalities and the ladder of engagement. Feel free to fill in the blank. I feel like a blank because blank. So feel free to fill in those two. I put it in the chat there. Feel free to fill in those two. And it could be anything. I feel like a bumblebee because there's lots and lots of thoughts going on in my head, whatever you like. So feel free to fill in that chat. What do you feel like right now? You're very quiet. Oh, I feel like a soft blanket because I don't want to leave my bed. Oh, Angeline, that's great. And kudos and congrats to you. Like, who thought that we would be working from our bed? You're making it work, Angeline. Maz, I feel like a sloth because I'm lethargic. Yeah. Angeline, same energy, bra. Yeah. Anyone else? I was telling you last week that the power went down. The continuous power supply was down. The generator was broken, so I had to go to the UN. Part of the weirdest thing, I actually took a picture of this and posted it on social media because I wasn't wearing slippers. I actually put on grown-up dress shoes to go to the UN, and it felt very, very strange. Anyone else? How are you feeling? Because Ali or Vish, Ali, I feel like a battering ram because I'm mostly powering through work. Okay, good for you. And I hope you get some chance to, some downtime. And yeah, anyone else? Amira or Maz, okay, Summit, Mims or Sao Fong or Vish, feel free. A long break starting tomorrow. Oh, that's great. That's great. I had a client, I'm teaching some peacekeepers next week. I'm doing a bunch of conflict resolution, negotiation, all these courses that starts next week. And in the chatting, I realized that I hadn't figured this out, that Monday's a holiday. So that was a real, 3-day weekend. Okay. For those of you who haven't put in the chat, if you feel drawn to do that, feel free. Otherwise, let's continue. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to talk about your tech personality and the ladder of engagement. Mims is saying, I feel envious because I have to work tomorrow. Oh, yeah, I do too. I'm working tomorrow and Friday, and I have Monday off. So I feel like a wall because my mind feels stuck. Oh, I hear you, Amira. Yesterday, for those who may not have been on the call, we talked about different self-care things and aromatherapy. This is a relatively new thing. I have this whole container of, I have two of them, one beside my bed to help me relax and calm and sleep. And then this one's on my desk. These are all energizer, scents and things. So, okay. So let's keep going here. Okay. So we're gonna, as we're sinking into this digital engagement specifically, I'd love to know what's the title of your next digital event? And this is just a funny, funky way to do this. So feel free to fill this in. The current mood plus an object to your right of your grandmother's first name plus the last thing you ate. So this person's was the weary wine glass of Winifred Biryani. So feel free to fill that in, and I'll do the same in the chat. Okay, so here's the title of my next event. Of course, this is just joking. We're just playing here. The elevated fan of Amy Chesney's banana smoothie. Maz is the languid mouse of Zahara oatmeal. That's great. That's great. Anyone else? What's the pretend title of your next event? Any other examples? The crazy cup of Sapporo corn. Oh, cornbread. Oh, yum, Vish. Oh, it's making my mouth water. That's lovely. Anyone else? One more. The hungry cable of Fatima rice. Okay. My son and I baked it. Oh, lovely. It's homemade, even better. Oh, yum. Okay, now I'm really drooling. Ali's the excited pen of Samiran milk tea. Oh, these are great. The mat Tupperware of Fell's salted egg makuru. Salted egg makuru. Wow. I don't know what that is. That sounds super intriguing. Okay, thanks, Angeline. I want to make sure we've got everyone here. It's an Indian snack. Okay. Oh, thanks, Angeline. The confused paper of Mardia porridge. Okay. Amira, if I can help with any of the confusion, just let me know here. It's a yummy snack. Okay. Well, I'm hoping one day I'll get back to Malaysia and I can taste some there. Okay. So as we go forward with some lightness and levity in these weird times that we're in, I just wanted to share this idea of tech personality. So I love this. I'm part of this group, Her Stories, on Facebook, and they put out the greatest stuff. So which type are you? Are you type A in terms of notifications? Oh, Bish, I can get it at Diamond Plaza. Okay, oh, I'll have to try that. Diamond Plaza is an amazing Indian market here in Nairobi. So we're going to dive a little deeper into tech personalities, but just a fun, light way. Are you type A in terms of no notifications on your smartphone? Or are you this person here, like 10,645 unread emails? So Amira's type B. Where are you all at? Type A, type B. So we've got one type B. We've got a type B. I'm half type A, says Ali. Anyone else? Mim says A, switch off all the notifications underneath a B. That's a great answer, Mims. I like that. Okay. So we are going to dive into we're going to dive a little deeper into your tech personality. And have you heard this term before, digital immigrants and digital natives? Is that a familiar term for you? Okay, so Angeline at least has heard it. So it's this idea of some of us didn't grow up with tech and some of us did. So particularly if you are, so the two scenarios here, if you're a digital native and your stakeholder, your community that you're trying to engage are digital immigrants, in other words, they did not grow up with these tech tools, that takes some specific care and attention. And also vice versa. You know, if you're a digital immigrant and your stakeholder, your key target audience are digital natives, that takes a lot of care and attention as well. So we're going to dive into that in kind of a fun way. But first of all, I wanted to show you this here. This was some data that I gathered from an initial survey on Mari Partners, and you can see, and this, if your agency is on here, it potentially could have changed. So this was done roughly last October, but you can see the difference here in terms of organizations and where are they on the paper to digital continuum. So this end is 100% paper, this end is 100% digital. And you see there's not one agency that's the same here, right? So everyone's coming from, quite a different perspective there. So I'm going to share a link with you here. And this is a quick survey that will allow you to figure out your tech personality. So if you can, click on that link. And if that's hard for you, or you're on a phone, or it's just, I'll show it to you here. So just let me know if you can see the tech personality survey. Can you see that on my screen okay? Just put a yes in the chat if you can. Just let me know in the chat. Okay, great. So feel free to go through this. There is a short number of, there's a short number of questions here. So feel free to just quickly answer those questions. There's, I think, 4 questions. And then once you click done, you'll get your animal there. So feel free to do that. Just give you a couple of minutes for that. If you're not able, if you're on a tablet or you're on a phone, or for whatever reason this is difficult, you can always come back, because I'll share the, I will share the information in just a second. So you don't have to have done the survey if that's hard for you. So I'll just give you a minute to fill that in. Just let me know in the chat once if you are able to fill it in, if you're finished. And then we'll go through them. Okay, so got some done there. Okay, great. Okay, so you would have self-assessed as either an armadillo, a duck, a turtle, or a dolphin. You do not have to share. If you feel comfortable and you want to share, let us know in the chat. Did you self-assess as an armadillo, a duck, a turtle, or a dolphin? And let's go through them. Pay particular attention, because you can fill out the survey more than once, as many times as you want. What is your natural tech personality? And then think about the tech personality of your target audience. And if it's different, then that's a real place to pay specific attention. In the principles, there was a lot of comments about that things are customized and they really fit the target audience. So this is one way to do that. Okay, so do we have any turtles in the group? And again, only share if you feel comfortable. By the way, this is based on the trans-theoretical model of change, which is a mouthful, and you don't necessarily need to know that. Just being a turtle is easier, or a duck, a dolphin, or etc. But turtles, the phase of the trans-theoretical model is the pre-contemplation phase. So turtles tend to really dislike tech. They just have a hard time. They're resistant, they could be irritable. So thinking about turtles, think about them as coming out of their shell. And something to help turtles is that, help them feel like they're not alone. There's lots of other turtles in the pond. And if need be, turtles can always duck back in their shell. Okay. So does anyone work with any turtles, or does anyone have turtles do you think as your target audience? So if turtles are your target audience, Mish is saying my husband. I love that. So need to be really kind and patient with turtles and not push them. So lots of encouragement, taking it very slowly, etc. Okay, then we have armadillos. Do we have any armadillos in the group? Or do we have anyone who thinks that your target audience is an armadillo? Armadillos are the next phase in the trans-theoretical model. And by the way, this is an example of digital engagement. So it would be probably not very interesting to you if I just did this as the trans-theoretical model. It sounds very academic and complicated. So that's why I put this into different animals, right? Ducks and dolphins and such. So armadillos, they're in the contemplation phase. So they're thinking about trying some tech tools. By the way, I have this same survey related to change, right? So it's how people react to change. So you can also take that survey as well. So armadillos are cautiously curious. They are, they have some willingness there. The key thing, if you, your team, and or your target audience are armadillos, is just to help them just gently experiment with some tech. Just again, take it really, really, really slow. Maz is saying an armadillo. That's brilliant. Oh, I love that. That's so good. Okay, the third one is ducks. So do we have any ducks in the group, or do we have any folks that have ducks as their target audience? So Ali's a duck. Okay, so ducks, when they hear the word tech, they kind of mutter to themselves, bring it on, like, I can do this, but they want to have their life jacket nearby. Mims is also a duck. Okay, they're interested and engaged. So when we're working with ducks, what they need to realize is they can explore, right? Different tributaries of the stream. They can paddle down a different channel. They can dive in. There's tons of things for ducks to explore. Okay, and then we have our dolphins. Do we have any dolphins in the group? Or any, do we have any target audiences that are ducks? Let me just change this for you here. I just realized this is not. There we go. Any dolphins in the group? I did this workshop for some tech experts. Really lovely. They're called Akira Chicks and really focus on helping young women, young African women with tech. And so we talked about this from a user experience because a lot of them were dolphins. And they're like, oh, that's why clients are struggling. Because sometimes we assume whatever we are, we assume that everyone else is. So dolphins, they are thoroughly motivated and excited about tech. They're sleek and sophisticated. And one thing with dolphins is to celebrate and then to really help other people, right? And to be patient and kind in that. Oh, Fish is saying that Affy is a dolphin. Oh, I love that. No, thinking of Affy today, she's at the dentist, so wishing her well. So when you're thinking about your planning your events, another thing on that checklist, another thing of those digital engagement skills to think about is what are you, right? Which animal are you? And which animal is your target audience? And then how can you plan accordingly? So feel free to put in the chat here, what's something based on this trans-theoretical model of change, what would you need to keep in mind when you're working with your audiences based on this? So feel free to put an example in the chat. So what's something you need to keep in mind? Ali, what do they have access to? Yeah, and what kind of access do they have? If I'm a dolphin, potentially asking an armadillo to edit a Google Doc might be too hard. I work with a client where for her, a win is being able to get the Google Doc on the screen. If she can click that link, and if she can find the link and click it and be looking at the document, that is a massive win for her. She is a extreme armadillo. So yeah, what do they have access to, and what kind of access? What are we asking them to do? What else? That's a great example, Ali. Any other examples? Do they have internet? Yes. What kind of bandwidth do they have? Absolutely. So what gadgets do they use? Yeah. So for the internet, if we're organizing an event and we make it mandatory that everyone has, I'm not saying you would do this, but if we make it mandatory that everyone has to have their camera on, that might use up too much bandwidth for people, and it might be too expensive or not possible. And then people feel left out. Right? If they don't have access, the financial resources to have bandwidth or such. Maz, what gadgets are they using? Yeah, so are they accessing your event or your information on a phone? Are they accessing it on a tablet? Are they accessing it on a laptop? And what implications does that have? Absolutely. Anything else? What about asking people to retweet things and use hashtags? What are your thoughts about that? Maz is saying, have they used the platform before? Yeah. So I have a monthly learning and development roundtable, and I do that roundtable on Zoom. And in the beginning days, in the invitation, it says, if you're not familiar with Zoom, here's a link. And it's a real troubleshooting, how to use Zoom. And in the early days of the pandemic, that was one of my most viewed pages on my website, was how to use Zoom. Right now, there's not very many people who haven't at least heard the term Zoom. So if you're using a platform that you think people maybe aren't familiar with, can you have a link on your website or something that they can go to troubleshoot? If this problem's happening, do this. Great. These are all great examples. Any other ones before we turn the page to the digital ladder? You're exactly on the right track, right? Thinking about these things. TikTok. Yeah. Absolutely. Like, where are your people hanging out? What platforms are they familiar with? What's comfortable for them? What's known to them? And then gravitate there. Yeah. There's a great, TikTok used to be just kind of for dancing. And now there's this, he's a vet who does educational videos on TikTok. It's amazing. Vicious saying, which is something a lot of Malaysian CSOs are thinking of using. Yeah, these tools give us so many options as long as they're used strategically. Yeah. Okay, your Sao Fong is saying, not CIJ, a big no-no from my boss. Yeah, so Sao, I don't know the history behind that. That potentially could be a difference in the tech personality, depending on, and I don't need to know that. I'm just using that as an example. But the no could be because of tech personality. Could be a lot of other reasons too. Okay, so let's head into the ladder of the ladder of engagement as we come to the close of our time together. Vish is saying, interesting, we're talking to her tomorrow, so we'll dig further into why. Great, good. Yeah, that'd be really, because there might be a very good reason there. It could be based on fear, the tech personality, lots of different things. Okay, has anyone heard of this ladder of engagement? Is that familiar to anybody? Love to know. Has anyone heard of the digital ladder of engagement? Just let me know in the chat there. No P. Okay, Vish has heard me talk about it before. Ali, no. Okay, I am hoping that this will be a key tool in your toolkit, and it's so simple. And by the way, this is based on, this actually comes from Sao Fong saw it in my notes. Okay. This actually comes from a mega church. So an author from the United States who builds these churches that have like tens of thousands of members. So it comes from that. And then I got it from a colleague of mine, Julie Sabo, who her and her partner run an organization called Capulet. So Capulet Communications, they edited it, and it's just so lovely. And praise the Lord. I'm of future people watching this. I'm just reading the chat here. So the idea here, it's very simple, is that you have these different steps. And by the way, I believe, I'll have to check this, or maybe someone can check it for me. I believe there's a downloadable PDF in that portal. If there's not, I will add it. But there should be, and I think I've updated it because this one doesn't have the credit on it, which is a big no-no. Somehow that got left off. So the new one does have the credit on there, and then you can actually fill it in. These places here are an editable PDF. Okay, so super simple. The idea here, and Xiaofang, this is, I'm hoping this will be really helpful for you. The idea here is that you have different steps on this ladder. So the first step is your clan, and your clan are people who have a passing interest in you, right? They have a minimal passing initial interest in you and your work, you being your organization. Then you've got people who are curious, and they're like, they maybe want to find out more. They're starting to be a little bit more engaged. Then you have your congregation. So every step up this ladder, people are getting more and more engaged. So you've got your congregation, then you've got people that are committed, and then you've got your core target audience here, or your core audience. So the idea here is that you very strategically, very deliberately have different calls to action to move people up that ladder. So I've given you some examples. So for example, if I send out and your example will be different. These are just some examples from myself. So if I have someone who, say I tweet out, so every week I tweet out put on Facebook and LinkedIn 4 different posts for my blog post that week, right? So it's 4 different tweets that or posts that describe my blog post that week. So the call to action would be to read the blog post, right? To click and to read. So then I've moved them up the step. Then another potential call to action, another example call to action is to subscribe to the blog or the newsletter. And by the way, this step here, the research shows is the hardest to get folks from being curious to the congregation. Another call to action to move people from the congregation to the committed is maybe to watch a webinar. Then another one might be to purchase a webinar, okay? So those are examples of calls to action that move people up the ladder. So let me know in the chat, what would be something that you would do at the clan stage here? And by the way, that used to be called tribe. So in the initial work, if you do any research on this, it's called tribe because of Indigenous rights. And I just wanted to get away from that. You know, that word, I just thought that was cultural appropriation. So I changed it to clan. And I liked all the C's, making them all C's. So Angeline could be read a poster, yeah. Maz is saying one positive thing out of the pandemic is that people have had to use some form of digital tools. Absolutely. We have moved 1 or 2 decades ahead in terms of people's digital engagement, right? It is not undermining the tragedy of the global pandemic. At the same time, one of the positives have been this huge growth in digital engagement. Okay, so let's use that example, Angeline. So we've got them to read a poster. So now they're in the curious stage. What's another example that we could move them up? So they've read a poster, they've read a digital poster. How can we bump them up a ladder now? Bump them up a step? Alice saying, highlighting the importance of the internet. Yes, and the digital divide, right? Yeah. Registering for something might be a little, oops, pardon me. Might be a little higher, right? That's I would put that up here. Click on a link to a website. Yes. Okay, so they've clicked on a link to a website. Maybe that's a call to action here. Now maybe they've oh, Ali's saying liking. So they've liked a social media post. Now maybe they come in, Ali, and register for something, you know, and maybe they become a core, you know, monthly donor or. But the key thing is that you brainstorm all these different action items that can move them up the steps. Questions, comments? Does this making sense?
Hi, Lian. I think this is really helpful because it's actually a reminder, and also it gives me wider perspective. Because to me, initially, I thought digital engagement, it got to be like you're talking to a boyfriend. If he's not, you talking and he's not responding, that is not engagement. So to me, I only restrict my perspective only on that, like just keep posting different stuff, but how people, whether people look at it or how they feel, how they think after they look at it is like there is a gap and there is a missing link in between. So to me, that is not engagement.
Yeah.
But looking at your ladder, I think we shouldn't limit the engagement in only one timeline. What's the right word for it? It's not just a short period of time, but we should look at it on a longer timeline. Like in this case, if we set our what they call objective and target correctly, so even the first stage, the most important part, like we don't get any responses, we get rejection or whatnot, we should not get discouraged because that's just one part of.
Absolutely. And you know, you'll learn more about this from your social media person, Bob Pearson. But the incredible thing about digital engagement is you have so many metrics, right? So, and I can see Vish has a question. Vish, did you want to jump in with your question?
Yes, Leanne. The question for me is, when we talk about digital engagement, we're often challenged with the question on, you know, what do you want your sort of audience or your community of supporters for a certain issue to do? What is the call for action? So this is a really interesting way for us to think about that. But the question is, a lot of these sort of options or the examples that we provided here are all about the engagement with the content, right, with whatever campaign goes out. But is there, when we're thinking of this ladder, like, could we raise the level of ambition a little bit more to be about, you know, we want to consume more of this information, and then a call for action that is more concrete, whether it's I mean, I can't think of examples right now, you know, like obviously we are in the middle of an emergency, so I'm not suggesting that anybody go out there and do a street protest or anything of that sort. Not that that has stopped some of our partners, but I'm just curious, you know, in your experience working in this sort of space, what have you seen in terms of the ladder of engagement beyond engaging with the content, but the call for action piece? What else have you seen, and where would that sort of fit in with the spectrum?
That's such a great question. So this can be really whatever you want it to be. If we were in times where it was safe to gather in public and in person, in real life, your core piece here could be a call to action to show up at a protest, right? And then you could actually see how many people showed up, and you could look at the retweets. It could be signing a campaign. It could be donating money. It could be um, um, if you're looking at a learning perspective, up here, this could be trainers of trainers. So you could be, if this is around shame around young girls having their period, you could, I'm just making this up off the top of my head, so pardon me, because this is not an area of my subject matter expertise, but this could be potentially putting out, regular tweets on that topic, or posting on LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok, whatever the platform is. And then maybe someone retweets that. Maybe then they download a poster that has 5 action steps, or they take a survey that looks at what action steps have they already taken to work in this area. Then they take a webinar or an evergreen webinar, or a synchronous in real time training on how to be a leader in your community around this issue, and now they've become a trainer.
Yeah, I think that's a really useful. Yeah, that's a really useful sort of framework in terms of what the different sort of options are in terms of what people do with this information, right? Because you ultimately, you don't want just a passive audience. You want people to actually do something, and sometimes a retweet or a share is an action in itself. So I think that's really useful. Thank you.
And Mims is saying, on Instagram, view, like, say, DM, share. Yeah, absolutely. What I love about this ladder is it's so simple and it's so strategic. Like, it kind of forces you to identify, what does engagement mean to you? And by the way, you will likely have more than one ladder in your organization. So you can have 10 or 15, depending on, you can have one per campaign, one per subject matter expertise area. And you can then really harness these powerful tools. Like I'm wondering, does anyone have a funnel? Does anyone on their website collect emails and have signups to different things? So let me be more clear about that. Does anyone on the call collect email addresses for various different newsletters or individual campaigns? Do you do that at all? Do you collect people's emails? Like, can I sign up to get something from you regularly? A regular newsletter from you? Just put yes or no in the chat there. Okay, so Ali has a newsletter. Okay, great. Anyone else? So, and Ali, can I sign up for that newsletter? Okay, Mims has one newsletter. Great. Anyone else? Do you have a newsletter that I could sign up to if I wanted to? Okay, Ali, yeah, I could sign up. Okay. And then for those of you that have newsletters, do you have funnels? And do you know what I mean by a funnel? Like, this, I think, is one of, and the social media person can maybe help you more with this than myself, but a funnel, and if you're interested in this, I could show you, maybe not today, we don't have time, but do people know what I mean when I'm talking about a funnel? It's often called a sales funnel, but you don't have to use it for sales. That's not how I use it. No, so this is not familiar to Bish. Anyone else know what a funnel? Okay, Ali knows. Okay. Mims is, well, so it's automatically your targeted audience, but basically a funnel in behind your website, or sorry, in behind your CRM. So for folks that have newsletters, which tool do you use to send out your newsletter? For example, I use ActiveCampaign. So every week, so Ali is MailChimp. Okay. So every week, people on my newsletter list get an email, And every week, people on my learning and development list get an email, which is fine. That's great. Like, I love that, sharing that content. There's calls to action there, etc. However, if someone signed up to get to one of my 2 groups, that's a thing that I really respect and honor and want to celebrate. So when people sign up to the newsletter and or the roundtable is the monthly event, they automatically, without me having to do a thing, that's the beauty of these tools. Now, it takes some work to set up, but they automatically get put in a funnel. So let's just say, Ali, you signed up to my learning and development roundtable. In the back end of Active Campaign, you get put at the top of the funnel, and you will automatically get sent a welcoming email that gives you a little bit of information about the roundtable. This is different from the weekly emails that I send out. Okay, then you move to the second part of the funnel, and you're held there for however long I've set the settings. So you're going to be held there for maybe 3-4 days. Then you get another email that gives you some more resources, welcomes you some more, tells you a bit more about the roundtable. Then you get bumped to the next part of the funnel, and so on and so on and so on. So it's a way of sharing more information, welcoming people, apart from the regular emails that you're sending out. Funnels are fantastic, and if you read up on them, mostly they're used for sales, but they're, I think, an incredible opportunity to have this funnel somewhere on your digital engagement ladder, because these are people who want to hear from you, right? They've signed up, and so you can, and I share little funny videos, and they can click on stuff and they get extra bonuses and things like that. So that's a very specific example of a call to action, is putting someone into a funnel. That was kind of technical. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions? I know we're at the top of the hour now, so I want to respect that. Okay. Okay, so my commitment to you is, I have a hunch that if the ladder is linked on that, on your portal, I don't think it's the up-to-date one that's editable. So right after our call, I will change that link. So you'll be able to download a ladder that you can actually write on. It's an editable PDF. So I would really encourage you to do that for one of your campaigns, one of your events, for your organization, for one of your lists, etc. It's a very simple, strategic tool to use. Okay, so as we go forward, next week, we're going to be doing gamification. We'll do stories, videos, and pictures. And then the second part of that will be micro-learning. And then pretty soon after that, we start to dive into all the fun, specific examples of tools. So I just want to leave you, this is sort of this in the initial training, we had full day training, so ignore the 15-minute break. Do create your own ladder of engagement, and give yourself grace. I love this picture. If you focus too hard on the problem, the solution can often evade you. Call on your colleagues, be creative, look for those Easter eggs, different ways of thinking. And thank you so much for sharing time today. I appreciate your time, appreciate you, and hang in there. I will hang out for a minute or two in case there's questions. Neural, you can stop the recording, the formal recording, but let me know questions, comments. Vish, thank you for your kind words.